Hi, I'm Danny Pellegrino from the Everything Iconic podcast. And who doesn't love a classic burger from McDonald's? That's right. McDonald's classic burgers are hotter, juicier, and tastier than ever. The patties are cooked to juicy perfection. I love the cheese perfectly melted on top. I love the Big Mac that has a special sauce in every bite. I love the pillowy, soft, golden bun. So in the words of the Hamburglar, which I believe means grab McDonald's best burgers ever before Hamburglar does at a McDonald's near you.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I'm proud to offer premium wireless for just $15 a month. And I'm proud that we have thousands of 5-star reviews from customers like Dan D in New York, who writes, "I am satisfied customer. How can this only be $15? He wrote it in all caps. I needed you to feel it like he feels it. I hope I did that justice, Dan. And I hope that you try Mint too at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months required. New subscribers only. Renew for 12 months to lock in savings. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See mintmobile.com.
Ho ho ho, guys, Merry Christmas. Day 5 of Heavy Metal Tone's adventure. Today is a slightly sadder one, I think, to be honest. I think we just need to have a little bit of reflection on the year that's gone, sadly, and the people that we have missed, we've lost to our community of musicians and music lovers, at the beginning of this episode anyway. Firstly, Chris Bailey, the founding member of the Australian punk band The Saints. He died on the 4th of October. Now, I find that, or 4th of September, sorry. I find it very hard to sort of come to words with this sort of thing, because only a few years ago we'd lost, another member of a founding Australian punk band of the Celibate Rifles, and and that was a big sad loss for me. Damien Lovelock died in 2019 actually, and he was was it 2019? Have I got that wrong? I think I've got that wrong. I think it was further back than that actually. Let me just look at that. I think my research went up the wall there. 2019. Sadly, is when he went, and actually no, 2019, 3rd of August. It seems longer ago than that. Anyway, there's the sound of Australian punk for me is the Celibate Rifles and the Saints. The Saints, of course, very very important because they released a punk single almost exactly the same time as God's Never Mind the Bollocks, the Pistols releasing their singles, and the Damned and so on. But across the world, just before the internet, of course, guys, in the time before the dinosaurs, and so how the musical word got across the planet is beyond me. It's a great example of the musical zeitgeist, the synergy of musicians, because the sound, whereas the Australian punk scene was not quite like the British one. There's I know there was tough times here in Australia, but hard to be sad when it's sand, sea, and surf, and bikinis and stuff like that, I suppose. But it was a different time in the 70s here, a slightly more Neanderthal kind of time. So that maybe that was their pushback. And the Rifles were important to me because my wife's uncle Dave, who was a big face in the punk scene of the late 70s, early 80s here in Australia, gave me a tape years ago when I first came to Australia, and it really meant a lot to me because the rifles on it were brilliant. Of course, we also lost this year, only recently, in fact, a few days ago, Jet Black, the drummer from The Stranglers. Now, he was in his 80s, and The Stranglers were an old, compared to the rest of the punk movement, were an older band. He actually owned ice cream trucks, and when they first got together, he owned a off license. So for those that don't know what an off license is, in America, it's a shop that sells alcohol. It's basically in the UK and here in Australia as well. You have licensed premises, which is your pubs and clubs and bars, and then you have your off license, and it's a licensed place to sell alcohol to people. Now, that was a big surprise. I mean, we all knew he was old, but sadly, we didn't see it coming. But well, no, who does really? I suppose, but maybe his family. But he'd been struggling with illness for some time. But the Stranglers were a very important band because, again, they bridged that gap. They took that youthful exuberance and anger and speed-infused, amphetamine-drenched nonsense across into a more semi-political, very musician. I think the difference, what made Stranglers the Stranglers was their musicianship. I think J.J. Burnell on the bass is one of the best bass players in the world in the history of rock and roll. In that, I truly believe that. And then you have, you have Hugh Cornwell on guitar. He plays this amazing, weird time signatures, a scatty kind of attack of the guitar with this sort of know-it-all voice of a uni graduate, because he was studying in Sweden for some time. I think it was nuclear physics. I'm not sure. I'd have to double check that, but it was something to do with that. Very, very clever man, and then Jet on the drums, and he just held that simple backbeat rhythm. Of course, sadly, only not long ago, we also lost the pianist or the keyboard player for the Stranglers as well. 2 years ago now, it feels like even sooner than that. It was Dave Greenfield, and I think it could be COVID related. I don't know. Let's check as we speak. Live research. Okay. Yeah, it was COVID. Yeah, COVID got him. So 50% of the band have now gone. I haven't seen the Stranglers live, and I'm not going to do the Stranglers without Jet, B without Dave, and B with and without Hugh. It just doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, all I'd like to say this episode is, yes, it's a bit sad. I know I don't want to be a downer, but let's remember them, shall we? Let's play their songs loud. Okay, let's play them loud. Let's play them in reverence. And remember them how they were, because they gave us all great joy. I go back to the Stranglers on a regular basis. I go back to the Saints on a regular basis. I'm often jumping into Celibate Rifle albums for when I want that sort of punky, Australian reverence. And the Australians did it so well, so well. If you don't know across the world, there, guys, you need to keep an eye out, an ear out. And honestly, let me just tell you which I think are the albums I think you should listen to. Okay, so the Saints, obviously, I'm Stranded. It was the first album to release outside of the US, that punk album that wasn't so before the Pistols and before the Damned, which is amazing. If you're going to pick a Celibate Rifles album, really honestly, Sideroxylon. It's Sideroxylon. Sideroxylon. That's the album that I would was released in 1983. It's a bloody cracker of an album. And the Stranglers, honestly, Radisson Avericus, that's probably that one, and I really like Black and White. I think are my two favourite albums of the Stranglers. You can dip into any of the Stranglers albums and get a classic, because they've made so much. Of course, also, if you want to listen to more Australian punk and want to get an idea of it outside of these shores, Radio Birdman, you will not find a more interesting band, I think. And of course, to some extent, early INXS as well. It wasn't all, Suicide Blonde and all that stuff. They had some really interesting new wave sounds coming out. Yeah, Radio Birdman. Interesting sounds. Anyway, that's me for this particular day. Tomorrow, I think, if I got my numbers right, is Christmas Eve. And we'll have an interesting question, an interesting one I've got to put to you. Anyway, talk to you tomorrow, guys. Bye now.
Hi, I'm Danny Pellegrino from the Everything Iconic podcast. And who doesn't love a classic burger from McDonald's? That's right. McDonald's classic burgers are hotter, juicier, and tastier than ever. The patties are cooked to juicy perfection. I love the cheese perfectly melted on top. I love the Big Mac that has special sauce in every bite. I love the pillowy, soft, golden bun. So in the words of the Hamburglar, which I believe means grab McDonald's best burgers ever before Hamburglar does at a McDonald's near you.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Do you love to read or listen to books? Is your nightstand overflowing with books you just don't have time to read? Listen to my podcast, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books with Zibby. I'm an author, publisher, podcaster, bookstore owner. My own novel, Blank, is out March 1st. And if you love books, you're in the right place. In fact, we call it the Zibbyverse, or rather, the LA Times calls it the Zibbyverse. Check us out, Moms Don't Have Time to Read Books with Zibby.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.